Thank you very much, my dear Ron, for being here today on this podcast, Modern Revenue Architects. Ron Luttrell from BlueArc Partners. I would like to give you the floor so that you can introduce yourself and maybe talk about your story, some of the breakthroughs that you've had in the past, in terms of leadership, in terms of inspiration for the audience.
Okay. Thanks, Luis, for having me on. About my story does have some. I'm very fortunate to have the story I have. I'm going to start there. As a child, I always loved two things. That was motorcycles and music. And I've been fortunate enough to have worked in both of those industries. Right out of college, I was in a band that we got signed to 2 independent record deals and did that. And while I was playing in that band and touring and recording, I was also working a full-time job in sales. And then the other thing that I did come to realize is that I was also selling the band all the time. So I did all of that outreach management, booking, getting record deals, that kind of thing. And I kind of got to a point where I decided I wanted to get off of that schedule, if you will, because 40 hours a week in music, 40 hours a week at your job. It got pretty exhausting. It was a great ride, but I decided to settle into a sales profession because I'd learned a lot from people I'd worked with. It felt very natural to me, something I really enjoyed doing. And I went to work in the publishing industry. I was living in San Francisco, worked for a big publisher, had 3 major magazines at the time. And there was something about it that was a great career path, but on one side, it really wasn't fulfilling. And I realized when I was coming home from the gym one morning on my bicycle and I got hit by a car that I needed to take my skills of sales and transfer them into something that I was passionate about. So motorcycles was the next transition for me. And I faxed in a resume to a local motorcycle dealership that afternoon, and 2.5 weeks later, I went to work in the motorcycle industry. From there, that sales position on the floor, I went on to manage dealerships, and then I really wanted to transition over to the OEM side of the business and kind of learn the business from that side of it. And that's where my real career, I think, path really took off for me. So I ended up leading sales teams and then building dealer networks. And the thing that I really realized is if you build a really good sales team, it translates down to improving network performance. So your sales team translates all that enthusiasm and passion and ways of doing business down to the dealer network. So it's like growing your sales team from 10 people to now 200 people. So that was a super experience for me. And honestly, that's kind of what led me to start BlueArc, because I loved helping networks like that grow and sales teams. And we're going to put that together at BlueArc. So we concentrate on enthusiast businesses that are B2B, B2B-to-C, help grow their networks, improve their performances. That was really my inspiration for starting that.
Beautiful. I have so many questions. Let's start with on the unfortunate event of that you got hit. Obviously, I hope you didn't hit as bad and you recovered quickly. But that was an unfortunate that led to something that you are super proud of, which is being a person that made a growth career in the power sports or motorsports, which was your passion. So that was very inspiring to recognize. And in terms of the sale, so that's the question is like, you mentioned a couple of things on the employees and on the sales, and it trickles down to the results. How have you seen the evolution of sales, given that on the past couple of years, people have been getting more anxious around getting a response super quick from the business than before. So before you could just like, hey, I don't know, you walk into the dealership or whatever, but sometimes now everything is becoming digital. So it's translating into the digital market and the speed to lead, especially on OEMs and the motorcycles dealerships. Like it's the same. You need to be engaging within the first 5 minutes and so on. So what's your take there on the evolution of what you have seen? Because you were on the industry, or you have been in the industry for the longest time. We're talking about like decades at least. So there's just that question around sales, speed to lead, execution on leads. How have you seen or experienced that shift in the industry?
Well, I think the industry has shifted, and I think it's getting ready to make one additional shift that will help resolve that. Because when I started in the industry, a lead response, if it was fast, was 24 hours, right? And that was considered acceptable. Today, you're absolutely right. I keep reading surveys on motorcycle consumers in this aspect, and every hour that goes by, the likelihood of you getting that customer into your store to look at the product decreases by about 30% for every hour. So you can imagine if you did that over 24 hours, you've just wasted that lead. It is a challenge that OEMs have, because the way OEMs go out and generate these leads, they spend about an average of $68 to drive that lead into the funnel. And then it gets disseminated out to the dealer network. So there's already a time gap loss there. And I think as an industry, we've got to transition to using AI follow-up so we get an immediate response out to that consumer immediately. And there are some really good things coming there that I think would, increase our closing ratios, provide a far better consumer journey, and profitability for the dealership as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, like there's some stats, and there's a decline on imagine all these OEMs spending thousands per month, or even tens of thousands per month, paying, like you say, $68 per pop. That is not going to be cheaper. Like whatever it is right now, it's going to be more expensive next month and next year, guaranteed. Given that, imagine now with AI, and I'm going to go into the advertising aspect of things. When OEM or when the dealership is printing ads, they are also inciting the user to receive more ads like the OEM printed. So that means that if I'm printing ads as a dealership, and you see the ad and engage with it and give me your information, you are going to receive the similar ads, because Facebook, because all the networks that are running ads are like, oh, Ron is a person that is qualified for this. I'm going to be showing him more than this. And then you're getting 3, 4, 5 options on the same span of 20 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever that is. And then it becomes a race to who is going to book in that person. And that's when AI comes in, as you said. Like if I have a person responding 24 hours, 2 hours, the fastest that they could do, because they're busy with clients sometimes on test drives, or they're busy doing something else, AI would engage within the minute these people, and the fastest to book an appointment is going to be most likely the one that is going to be the one to pick as sell. So I don't know if you agree with that, but that's my take on it too.
I absolutely agree with you. And, I've been out looking at those solutions for OEMs to implement with their dealer networks. I found some really slick programs out there that, I've got a dealer friend of mine. He's got a very distinct voice. He's got a very distinct accent. So he's got a British accent and he lives in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So you can imagine how distinctive that is.
Yeah.
We can even take his voice and lay it over the AI agent.
Yeah, that's true. And obviously that thing is super important. The localization of the numbers too. Like if we are in Atlanta, if we are in Ontario, if we are in California, whatever the number is, we can obviously, you can have a number dedicated to that specific area, so that when someone engages with the ads, they get a notification. Hey, we're gonna call you from this number, and then they see they engage with the ad. They see the message coming in that they are going to receive a call in the next 20 seconds. They receive the call, so the likelihood of picking up the phone, it is up the roof, because they did something. I'm interested on this. Hey, I'm gonna call you. Here's a phone call coming in, and then AI is going to cater for whatever qualification. Just like it could be, I don't know, financing or location or test drive or whatever the thing is that I want to uncover from this, and then be able to mission accomplished with this lead, whatever that is. If it's booking, if it's service, if it's whatever, done. So yes, that's exciting. In terms of, go ahead. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it too, Ron.
Yeah, I was just going to add something. You talk about getting that notification prior to the phone call coming in. You're absolutely right. And if you think about the way that we communicate as humans today, we probably spend more time texting than we ever do on a phone call anymore. So if you give that notification up front, it doesn't appear to be a random robocall.
Exactly. Because more than ever now, there's a spam coming in. So if we try to engage on a voice AI to people and we are unsolicited, the percentage of picking up is going to be terrible, bad. Like if the person is not recognizing my phone, it's going to be. But if there's an intent and if there's a notification, hey, you sent us a request, we're gonna engage with you in a few seconds. Hold on, and then boom, like the person is on their phone at that moment. So it is very powerful. And even if the person doesn't want to engage on a conversation on the phone, we can still do it by the preferred messaging tool, which is like, hey, would you like to have a conversation in WhatsApp because you're in Latin America? Would you like to prefer SMS? Whatever that is, it could make it happen. And language agnostic. So obviously, if you can have a person cloning a type of voice or an accent, obviously it's going to be catered for someone, let's say in the US, Spanish. It's a big language. So engaging with users on their language of preference is going to cater for other segment that is just AI can respond in any language. So might be as well in different ones that we need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very well. So in terms of, let's say, when you talk about, I see some of the posts that you have done and some of the things that you have done. So in terms of fractional services or fractional leadership consulting that you do, what is that you diagnose when someone is needing something? What are some KPIs, or what's that in terms of sales? What can you tell about the hey, this is a pain, because you could be asking some questions. I'm assuming that you will go into a business, you can ask some questions. Hey, obviously, percentage rate of close, what's your funnel look like, whatever. So how do you manage the conversation there? What are the things that somebody can listening or looking at or watching our episode, are the things that they need to see? Okay, I need to fine tune this, or maybe I can engage with Ron and ask him some recommendations, or maybe book Ron because my business is on pain. What would you say there, Ron?
Oh, there's a lot to unpack when we go in and do a diagnostics on a company. I think one of the key areas that I've seen it way too many times, right? You go into a company and the sales team is not really aligned on what the ideal customer profile looks like. And when sometimes you even go in and talk to the CEO of the company, and the CEO doesn't know what that looks like. Well, now we've got a sales team that's out trying to generate business, but they have no idea who they're targeting specifically and why they should be targeting that person. So I always find that's kind of the first step where bringing that alignment into focus, and then educating the sales team on what that looks like, that makes a significant impact right up front.
Nice. And I know that there's different types of closing or business. Like, you have the school of consultative sales, and you have the school of the rebuttals and the Wolf of Wall Street kind of thing, which is your Jordan Belfort, like very just like closing, and like, what's obviously when you go and consult with teams, there's going to be maybe either or maybe in between. I feel in my experience or what I've seen, there's been a shift from Jordan Belfort type of closing to a more no sales pressure, lower the resistance, lowering the guard, and that helps tremendously on making the actual user to be the one that closes themselves because of the consultative process and the helpfulness and what have you. I would like to have your take there. How do you train people when there's the disparity of the different models, and how do you consult, and what do you recommend there?
Well, I've always been a fan of consulting, consultative selling, right? And here's the number one reason why. If you take that approach and you've answered that consumer's needs and truly aligned them with something that fits those needs, you never get buyer's remorse. And that's a huge thing to overcome. I believe that I'm going to tell you a little story that happened to me a couple of weeks ago, that I tried to get in touch with the sales leader at this company. It's a Saturday afternoon. I received a phone call from a number I didn't recognize, so let it go to voicemail. No voicemail. That number called back immediately, and so that's the double tap or the double call. So that's a really old school technique, in my opinion. And the gentleman introduced himself, told me the product he was selling, and I said, well, first of all, I'm not in the market for that product. I've never filled out a lead gen for that product. And why did you call me twice? Because you left me with the impression that something had happened to a friend or loved one, and they had to use someone else's cell phone. And he goes, well, that's exactly why we do it. And I said, I get it, but you skipped all of the relationship building, and I would never buy a product from you because of that. I'm just a double call.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. That happens more often than not. And I'm with you on the same boat of consultative for sure is what works. And with that, I would like to thank you. We're trying to make this as much as a TED Talk as possible and give you away as much value as we can. Is there anything else that you would like to recommend, or maybe some predictions for the future? And with that, I'll cut it and call it on a great episode today.
Okay. I think I would also like to add one thing about sales teams. There was a major shift in my leadership style when I transitioned from performance-based to people-based, right? I think that individualized leadership, to be sure that you enable each individual on that team to have the greatest success they possibly can have, and their needs will be altogether different. So I think empathy is really a leadership tool. And if you think about it, we talk to salespeople all the time about reduce your pressure, go out and be a consultant to the client. As leaders of companies, we need to be a consultant to our sales teams.
Beautiful. I totally agree. Thank you, Ron, for this great episode. I will be in touch with you, and thank you, guys. Like, you will be able to see Ron's LinkedIn, website, everything at the bottom of the description in the episode. So obviously, if you have a question, engage with him. Super nice guy, and I think we're very aligned on a lot of things. Thank you again, Ron.
Thank you, Luis.
Appreciate it.